Happy Sunday.
Hey, hey.
Hello, Lawrence and I are back. Sunday. Hello to my sweet little chat. Hi, Blazer and Jane. Thank you for your patience. I was running a little late. I got myself a haircut. and it,
Keeping
all about
me,
that well, it's
keeping
all
me
about that
hanging,
well-being.
Heidi.
I know, right? I went on the other side of LA, but it's a dear mom friend. And I talk about finding community and, really just she gifted me a cut, but it's also someone I can talk freely with about medical, about children, about
I
education.
love
Why
that.
wouldn't I drive across town to be with her? So it took me a little while to get back though. So
I
apologies
love that.
delay.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Isn't it nice? It's sweet. Community is so
Yeah,
important.
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But we got to set it off. Are we counting this as 27?
I know, right? 27th, but or 2 in a new
Or
season.
2?
We're kind of a new season, I
We're
think.
gonna figure it out right now.
Yeah.
On
Yeah.
3.
Oh yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Boom.
Boom. That was actually
Hey.
pretty good.
That
That was
was
one of our
actually
better ones,
decent.
especially
Yeah.
since we're doing it live.
Yeah. That was a good one there. Well, how have you been? How's the week? What's your finger on the pulse saying this week? Like
Oh
what's going
man,
on?
this is a juicy week, right? This is sort of like the announcement with RFK Jr. and that is frothing everything up on social media, of course, and we're obviously with what I'm doing, what we're all about. We are looking at potentially a revolution. Fingers crossed, but really potentially a revolution in healthcare and eliminating, exposing, rooting out, corruption. There's a lot,
Yes.
there's a lot, there's a lot that goes to this. So yeah, that's pulled a lot of my time, and it's been fascinating because when these things come around, I mean, I guess it exposes a lot of what people know and what they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Heidi, you and I, and in our communities, we're exposed to things in this space that many aren't, so when you have these kind of two different worlds, so we'll just say, like, kind of legacy media and then more of the alternative media, and to watch these conversations happen, and to just I've been, maybe for better or worse, diving into comment sections and weighing in and just seeing it's just sort of staggering, like how limited people are in their understanding of number one, this man, but two, of just past history, where the political parties, things have sort of flipped over in a very strange way. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
taking down big pharma and exposing corruption, it shouldn't be controversial.
Right? I think that
It
would be a universal
it's sort
desire.
of, yeah, and then you're just looking at, it's always fun because there's always receipts, right? And we look back. One of the things I got a kick out of this past week was just kind of reminding people, where RFK was back in 2008
Yes,
when,
please. Yeah,
yeah,
go ahead, because he was becoming a
well,
mouthpiece on social media, really, wasn't he?
yeah, and in terms of cabinet picks, he was in the running to head the EPA
Mm.
under Obama.
Mm.
And that this was a big part of, I know, my own journey, but I think I could speak to a lot of us that are older. I mean, it's funny because if you're speaking to somebody that's 22 years old, you go back to 2008 and it's kind of like they were kids. But for people that are our age, we remember that time. And the reason I'm bringing this up, because I think it really demonstrates a journey that we've gone on as a country. And back in the 2007, 2008, when Obama was running, he ran on this platform of health. I mean, he spoke a lot to Monsanto, and GMOs was the big thing of the day, and there were just a lot of promises that I was really hoping that would be kept. And
I
then
know,
what we
right?
saw is,
Yeah.
when he got in, the cabinet choices were abysmal. He was picking, Monsanto folks to head USDA, et cetera.
Yep.
And it was sort of like a very big wake up call for me.
Oh, sure.
to see
That
what had
that was my
happened.
tipping point. Yeah.
And, and RFK Jr. at the time, I mean, if you read the Politico thing that's been floating around on that, and I put it up on my Facebook page, Heidi, where, in that article, it states how he'd be a popular choice. He was popular with the party, with Hillary Clinton, of course. His uncle, Ted Kennedy, was alive at the time. And, so it just speaks to like where things have gone, you know.
Did you say Hillary Clinton was the uncle
Hit
or
uh,
Bill?
Ted Kennedy was,
Oh, 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 oh.
yeah,
Gotcha, gotcha,
was Bobby's uncle.
gotcha.
And, they were really championing Bobby Kennedy Jr. to, head up environment.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about this is also the sort of lack of understanding that people have over these past director credentials, right? So the current one right now, he has 0 medical credentials. He worked in
Mm-hmm.
mental health space a little bit, was a lawyer, and then basically served like 12 terms in Congress, right? One previous was like a Walmart lobbyist. The other previous was just like a university administrator, feminist, whatever. I mean, there's no medical credentials.
Mm-hmm.
And so, the fact that his credentials are being questioned is very bizarre to me. As a person that, if we're talking about science, guys, when you're an environmental when you're litigating, public health cases that have to do with the environment, and then of course, and then he got into public health and, with other issues as well, all you do is read science.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you do, around the clock. And,
Like you.
but the thing, to put it in perspective, just to think about the way the world really works. If you're a med student, 18 years old, and you go through college, you're studying some undergrad, you get into residency, you're kind of moving forward toward being a doctor. You're putting in your time, but you're young at that time, and maybe when it comes to reading directly, scientific literature, you might put in 300 to 500 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I can guarantee you that RFK Jr. has put in upwards of 10,000 hours with his eyeballs on this stuff. And then just surrounding himself. If you're going into a courtroom and you're having to win a case and it's based on, it is based on science, you're surrounding yourself with some of the best scientists that we have to offer.
Yeah.
So that's just my little rant on this, is Jed, it's just staggering to see how people will reduce people down to a talking point, a meme, something they heard. They have no direct knowledge or understanding of the topic.
To discredit. Yeah, I hear that. I wasn't one of those moms that was following him. When he became a talking piece, I assumed, and I had an interaction with his, I think they're ex now, Cheryl Hines. I worked with her, but I just felt it was one more puppet. Like I went a little enough down the rabbit hole to be like, I'm not going to follow that guy. And so I was really like, there's a few of them out there that are big talkers of health, and I'm just like, I just don't follow them. I guess because I just chose the sovereignty and figuring things out myself. However, watching what's unfolding, and like you said, I think you said revolution, or did you say revolution? Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
That's what's on deck, really. If it's gonna take a Kennedy, which I think it might, to open up. It's opened up a world more of mom groups and talk, people of interest with this, parents. And he really was trailblazing social media with this as a platform, especially when those doctors came out. What was it? Emma, Emmanuel, remember that gal?
Mm-hmm.
And they were, during those days, I was happy to see him collect a following that was really based in holistic health, which was exciting. I just didn't pay him much mind.
Well,
so when I even saw him starting to run, I was like, oh shoot. I go, what's going on now? We're just going to split everybody up. And then when there was this merge, I was like, oh, I see what's going on here. This could be an actual flip, because the team that's built, I feel we hit our tipping point. We have enough people wanting change and wanting to, take down those that have been in power for so long. So maybe this is the right
Well,
team to do it. Go ahead,
yeah. I
sorry.
mean, look, in terms of rabbit holes, Heidi, it's like for instance, Dr. Shiva, right? Hates
Yes.
Darth King.
Oh,
Fucking
yeah?
hates him.
Really?
Fucking hates him. Right.
No
And I love
way.
Dr. Shiva.
I love
And I
Dr.
listen and I know everything. And I've gone on every rabbit hole. You know, in all of these years, you're gonna find someone who's oh, he is a psyop, he's a counterintelligence, he's a that, he's actually in cahoots with that, and it's 5D chess, and it's the and it's just at some point you have to stop living life like it's a graphic novel where villains just show up on pages and they exist in some kind of weird 2D meme thing that makes you want to make sense. Whereas like really think hard about the energy that people have to put in to pull off. I mean, if you look at Children's Health Defense and you look at these court cases, this is like not just like surface level stuff where you're able to kind of coast through and not put the work in. It's
Yeah.
like it would just be very weird to put in decades of your life to wake up people to all of these issues, to go after, to me, what I consider all the bad guys, only for it to be some kind of crazy. I just
Agreed. That's
you
a
know
pretty hardcore platform to
it's
not
just
follow
it
through with.
just starts to get
Yeah.
you
If
know
you
but
yeah.
that said, we have it's a wait and see. The thing that will tell the tale will be transparency, will be like, and that's one of the biggest things I'm excited for, to see the unveiling, like open up the books, let's look at stuff. Apparently they're going to be, you know,
Declassing
publishing
a
this
lot.
online for everybody to look at.
Yeah.
And this was also something that Obama had said he was going to do. We're going to look at
Eh,
everything online, and we're going to have this. And none of that happened. It's just,
right.
so
Yeah.
it's like I might look like a complete fucking idiot, but what else do we have right now? I mean, we're one of
It's a
two countries in the
yeah.
world that advertises drugs on TV. It's us in New Zealand
I know. And that's just that literal drugs.
in
Don't
the
forget
world.
about the food. The some of our food is literally different than the rest of the world.
Yeah.
So,
And if
yeah.
you look at, there's a New York Times thing going around today that was like a New York
Uh,
Times
you made a slogan. I knew you'd
Sandy,
catch one, Sandy.
stop living life. I mean, it's what it
Yeah.
starts to feel like, you know.
Yeah.
One picture, people start to look into something, and then a whole like new, you know, narrative arises, because we live in
Yeah.
a fast news cycle and everything is memified and
I know. I know.
chopped
I
up
love
and
them.
out of context, and
Yeah.
you know,
But
nuanced
it
thinking is really
yeah.
tough to communicate nowadays.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Um,
Yep.
but yeah, it could all be it's something that, you know, when we look at it, when we see, so to the New York Times thing that I was mentioning, um,
Yeah.
there's a
What
guy
was that? Because I
who,
don't like New York Times. But what was it?
right, well, right, well, New York Times was trying to do like a little gotcha moment, right? Let me
Oh,
pull this up.
okay. Oh, we got to our first
Just,
screen share. Inch,
yeah,
inch,
hold
inch,
on, let
inch.
me see if it's on my Facebook, so let's see if
Gotta
I
love
can
that
find it.
Facebook.
Yeah, okay.
Hello to Facebook land. And by the way, hello
Yeah,
Sandy. Hello
let's
Chili. I see you there.
I think this is worth just talking about. This alone can open up a conversation, because this is how the media works here. This is good stuff.
Okay.
All right, hold on, let's screen
Let's do a
share.
screen. Yeah, I want to see things follow through, but for some reason, this is one point where I'm like, how could it not at this? I feel like
Yeah.
the
Let's see if you
energy's
got that.
telling us one way. Yep, here it comes.
Okay. So Brad Cohn puts this up. Spitting out
Oh,
my coffee after reading this New York Times fact check of RFK Jr. This is hysterical. I actually had to look this up to see if it was real, because it just seemed like it couldn't be real. Mr. Kennedy has singled out Fruit Loops as an example of a product with too many artificial ingredients, questioning why the Canadian version has fewer than the US version. But he was wrong.
what?
Was he? The ingredient list is roughly the same, although Canada's has natural colorings made from blueberries and carrots, while the US product contains red dye 40, yellow 5, and blue 1, as well as butylated hydroxytoluene, toluene, BHT, lab-made chemical that is used for freshness according to the ingredient label. So what are we
Wait,
doing here? So as I wrote here, you know, he was wrong, right? He's saying, oh, he was wrong, but yet, okay, here's an ingredient list to basically show he was right.
He's right. I was like, "Wait, I don't get the hook here because
That's the
he is
point, is
right."
that he thought it
Yeah.
was like, aha, it's
Oh,
just the same.
clickbait.
And it's like, it's
Clickbait
not
crap.
clickbait. This New York Times writer really thinks that this isn't a big deal. That's the point.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah, I'm seeing it. Go ahead, hon.
Right.
I see what you're saying. They think there's nothing wrong with
There's like,
those
there's the same. I
red
mean, the
yeah.
ingredient list is the same, and the colorings in
Gosh.
Canada are made from blueberries and carrots, and we just use these other food colorings, and they're fine.
Come
I mean,
on.
this is. We can
Should
stop
I
share
remove it?
here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Remove.
but this
Oh my
this
gosh. Yeah. I see what you mean.
what
But you know what? I'm seeing that. I am still seeing that. What about the people saying, "But I want to get my," and I think they assume there's going to be some regime in that they're not going to have access to the healthcare
no,
of
no,
their choice. The point
none of that is
is
true.
choice, right?
And
Sovereignty. You get to
this
choose.
is where he actually, the irony of all this is he's not anti enough for some people,
Uh-huh.
and he's totally an anti to like most of the country.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like completely like it's kind of like this is what this is where we're at. And there's actually a site called Kennedy Debunked, which
Wow.
is a debunking site that
Mhm.
I can share
They
that
go
if you
through
want
all
to show
his
you.
stuff? They're debunking all his stuff? Oh.
What it is it's lies against him that are debunked.
Oh, okay. Here it comes.
It's kind of a bad name if you think about it, but so I mean, look at some of the stuff that's in the mainstream media. He ate a dog.
It Oh.
This is one that's going around a lot.
Oh, come on.
Responsible for measles death in Samoa. And so,
Come on. Well,
yeah.
good. So someone is doing their due diligence
Oh,
and doing this
it's all
research,
in
and
here. And there's
that's
lots of
great.
these kind of sites that I kind of go to, where there's a collection of these things to kind of read through, and when the receipt trails are good enough, I can, then I'm comfortable to share.
Uh-huh.
Um, but that's what it is. It's an information war.
That's it.
I
Mhm.
believe that if we pull pharma ads from TV, the entire media landscape immediately changes, because we
I
know that
agree.
that's funding the whole thing. They're
Yep,
just
yep, yep, yep.
that's
Totally.
funding the whole thing.
That's it. Yeah, and I
So
see you, peaceful penguin. Absolutely. Just basically saying that's the worst thing you could do is give up your rights as that you're born on this planet to choose. So yes, I'm seeing you. Yeah, I agree. Get those media ads out. I'll never forget the first time I was in a hotel in a long time. I was on a travel job, and it was one commercial after another. And then there'd be like 10 seconds of the show and then one pharma, 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 pharma. It
yeah,
was this hardcore push. And I thought it was like one Saturday Night Live sketch after another.
yeah,
It didn't make sense. And so, but the people eat it up, hook, line, and sinker.
it's the
This,
food. They advertise the food that you will eat to get you sick, and then their solution to get you better.
yeah, yeah,
And that's it. Yeah,
yeah,
Sandy. I mean,
yeah.
if we can do that, then you win. Then a lot of narratives just go away, because
Do you think go ahead.
yeah, but no, because that does definitely impact what they choose to say and what they choose not to say.
Yeah. Do you think the ads are gonna be targeted now and taken down? Do you think there's gonna
I
be a
think there's
lot
going to
more?
be a play for it, or I hope. I mean, and
Yeah.
this is what's on the table. And those are
Yeah.
the kind of things where I'm like, actions speak louder than words. I mean, those are the
Right.
kind of things that you need to see happening. And
Exactly.
that, and the 1986 liability act.
Mm.
That if I mean, if those two things happen, he could do nothing. If it
And
just
tell
does those two things,
that could
then
take care of a
anything else
whole hell of a lot of stuff. And for
literally
those,
changes
the
things.
1986, the Liability Act means that manufacturers are not liable for
Correct.
harm, right? Yes.
Correct.
So, oh
And
yeah.
so if proper safety evaluation is done, I mean, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, we know we had whistleblowers. Um, who knows how many more there are. There's a lot of stuff that's probably sitting there that hopefully we can shed the light on. So that's what we look for. It's just transparency and certain things to happen, because it comes down to incentives.
Mhm.
When there's
Mhm.
incentives, when the media has an incentive to say something because of who's paying their bills, right?
Mhm.
When companies have, and all the incentive in the world to just keep driving through new approvals, and because they know they can do it. Basically, they put aside certain amount of money that they know they're going to get sued. They're going to whatever. They already know that it's already baked into the business model. Like
Mm-hmm.
we're going to harm people. We're going to get sued, but we know it's going to cost this much money. We got the lawyers. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
we need to get to the point where they actually have a real threat, like they are liable. They're on the hook, and then watch how everything changes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we saw this past week with the stocks. Big
I
pharma
didn't.
stocks are
Well,
big
I did
pharma
see
stocks,
XRP.
are tanking because
Oh, okay.
with this
Good.
announcement.
Hey, and
So
I mean, I know we're teasing about memes and things, but I did see a great one. That was
I love
someone like
memes. Don't get me wrong.
yeah, they're like mad shredding and they're like
I think
pharma
I
companies
love
and
memes. It's
yeah.
just we have to kind of separate like what we're building our arguments on. No, I meme all
Mhm.
day long.
Mhm. Yes, Sandy, we turn off the sound of the ads. Do you know we talked about that in one of our kids' health about the happy fun ball, where it's this happy scene and here's a ball and we're playing, but what's scrolling is may cause this, that, and the other, la, 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 la.
Right.
And none of it talks about the root of the problem. That's what I get to enjoy talking with my mom friend just now with the hair was how what twisted for her when she had children is no one wanted to get to the root. Where is the fever coming from? They just wanted to suppress it. No, I want to know, is this growing pain? Like you really have to dive into research yourself to really understand all the verbiage coming at you and discern
Are you able
appropriately.
to get sound on the screen share?
Yeah, I can do that, I think.
Why don't
I
we
don't see
why
a
don't we
screen
just
share yet.
hold on? No, I'm
Mhm.
gonna get why don't
Hi,
we
Tim
do this,
Mothman.
Heidi? Why don't we do this? Hey, Mothman?
Yeah, Tim
Why don't we do this?
Mothman. Tim Mothman. He's
Oh,
in SoCal here. He's more down by
go.
San
Let's
Diego-ish.
see. Um,
Azura,
Screen
Azusa.
share. Let's see here if we can do this. Also share sound. We got it on here.
Oh, here it comes. Yeah, sound should work. What's this? Oh, is this Happy Fun Ball?
Can't hear you. You're muted.
Because I muted.
There we go. Okay, so
It's just the
that
best.
holds up really well, Heidi. That
Oh
was
my
like
God.
in the mid
Yeah.
'80s.
And I remember watching it going, I don't understand. If it's supposed to be fun, why would it hurt you? And then I knew it because we love Saturday Night Live and comedy stuff. I'm like, oh, what a joke. And then you see commercials today, and that's what it is. It's
Yeah,
happy fun
I
stuff
mean,
with this
most things.
list.
The things that we have to be, when you just think even of the concept of evil itself, evil doesn't show up like evil. That's not
Oh,
how it works, right? True evil shows up
good
like
call.
it's the guy
Hmm.
in the nice suit smiling and yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, I'm gonna throw.
That's just how it works, and it's the things that it's behind the veil and the things we don't see. Smoking.
Yeah. They got some goodies. They like
Yeah,
to.
good times. I mean, Happy Fun Ball, and man, that held up really well. That I literally haven't
Hmm.
seen that since we were kids.
I know. That was a good one. I think I rewatched it after we talked about it last season, but it was season. I'm already calling it seasons.
I know we got
But
seasons.
I remember just scrolling, unless somebody else may have spoofed it, but still, just genius. And so I tell you, I didn't even process that, Lawrence. And I didn't know that would be a step. But oh my gosh, if those media ads are taken down, that would shift entertainment. That would shift, I mean,
Everything,
multiple industries.
everything
Yeah,
changes.
yeah, everything
Everything
changes.
changes.
The programming. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
and
Oh,
when the revolving door stops, when
yeah.
just the revolving door of lobbyists and people being put on boards and approving things. I mean, we saw that during pandemic with um, Gilead Industries and Remdesivir. 9 of the 12 people on the committee had ties to Gilead where they rushed that in, and it ended up being just a disaster. And and I was saying that right away.
Yeah.
Sounding the alarm. This is gonna
Yeah.
be a damaging
You got
medication.
attacked. You got
I got
attacked.
viciously attacked, and
Yeah.
you and I had talked about this stuff. We had a lot of things taken down,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and suppressed information, and so just seeing the pendulum maybe swing the other way, it feels good.
It does. But I'm
It
holding my
feels
breath.
see, to me it's like this though, and it goes back to what we said last week and what we'll continue to say is that it isn't going to be a top down thing anyway.
Mm.
The thing about it is that the conversation is occurring enough where, again, it has to be a bottom-up solution. In other words, you guys out there, you vote with your dollars. You go and you put your money into companies that you believe in, and because money talks at the end of the day,
Mhm.
right? You can do all the legislation in the world, and if we don't change our behaviors, you know, what is it? But I think what we're looking for is just accountability. When people have legal protection and legal shields and are not held accountable, there's a huge problem with that.
Yep, yep, yep.
So there's sort of public health, but then there's the private responsibility,
Oh, yeah.
self sovereignty,
Yep.
and at the end of the day, you know, because look, I've lived in this system, and I don't participate,
Mhm,
right, Heidi? I mean,
mhm,
we don't, but we do see the need.
mhm,
There are others that, again, and it's like, wake up, wake up, wake up every day. Something is happening.
mhm, mhm,
And the
mhm,
fact that it's
mhm.
got to this point that's saying something about the pulse of the bottom moving up, right?
Which would be more sturdy.
Much
That would
more
be
sturdy.
this great foundation, build from the bottom up. Yep, yep.
I mean, much more sturdy. I mean, if you run a business and you know anything about success, it's like you have to listen to your team. You have to listen to the people on the ground on the front lines and say what's going on, and adjust accordingly. But when you know that you can just kind of put rules on down high and everybody's got to deal with it, it's this top down authoritarian
Mhm,
type of thing that happens,
mhm.
and nothing good comes from that.
Right. Which is what I think there's a lot of folks right now watching for that to happen. They think there's this big authoritative movement that's going to happen and suppress them. And if we just start with the little bit things from the bottom up.
Yeah. Yeah. It's ultimately going to be like that. We still have to, at the end of the day, make our choices that shift because industry changes. Over the last 15, 20 years, obviously more and more, and they pay attention to that. Like more and more people are choosing things like organic food. But then what do the lobbyists do? What do the big food companies do? They begin to lobby for the changes in the definition of that word.
Yeah, they're right on the heels of what the people to
And so
control it.
doing battle of, like, if you control the language and you can control the terms, and well, we can call this organic, and then we can charge all of this extra money, and then the farmer, they have to pay all of this extra money to get all this certification. There's layers and layers and layers of red tape and bureaucracy, and it's always like to the advantage. That's the thing about monopoly power and the federal government at large, is that needs to end, so that there's some true market competition, because these big companies literally exist to just steamroll, and they will always put forward legislation that will be under a pretty name that sounds totally harmless. The food safety bill, and they sound like they're looking after you. It's usually
Cutting deals.
just decimate the competition with the
Do
stroke
you
of a pen.
do you think we have a chance to like win back the land, like the soil and all the
That's
farms
going to
that
be
have been
hard.
bought out? Yeah.
That's
And
going to be
that's a
extremely
long-term goal,
difficult.
or is that one of those they gotta land
Yeah,
back
I mean,
soon or
it
something?
is. It is a
Mhm,
long-term goal. I mean,
mhm,
we've gotten to such a tragic place with the use of our land, and that's a whole other, can of worms. But
mhm.
if you were to try to say, turn everything regenerative overnight or whatever, we're at the place where it can't be fixed quickly. Even if we could kind of take it back, there's a lot of work to be done.
Mhm.
But we're losing topsoil. We're losing real, quality arable land. That, yeah, it's gonna that's real stuff. That's really
Mhm.
tricky, because your food supply can only be as good as your soil.
Yeah. And I was watching what was happening, and it was just getting to the point where everything could be manufactured instead of grown naturally, and
I
it
mean,
just
the irony of it is, do you remember when California had was a prop? I can't remember the number of the prop, but it was a prop to label GMOs,
Uh-huh. Mhm.
and their biggest, Monsanto's biggest argument that they were trying to, I mean, it was hilarious. They were like, it's going to be too expensive to do that.
To make the labels,
But when
right?
you looked at the amount of money that they spent to campaign on it being too expensive, and then you calculated the cost of the labeling, it was like they were spending more money to tell you that it was too expensive. I mean, it was literally that much of an insult to our intelligence.
Yeah.
And sure enough, that didn't go through. And it was
Mhm.
important at the time for California, if you remember, because we produce most of the country's food. This state, we know we really are.
Really?
Yes,
How did I not know that?
yeah,
I assumed a lot of the
like the
I wonder
Midwest
I
and all that. But
keep
we have
yeah.
year-round conditions that can.
Oh, yeah.
The output is
Yeah.
incredible, and so
Yeah.
in the population that
That's
we
right.
have, in the GDP of California, I mean, we operate almost like our own country.
That's true. And you
You
know what?
know,
The Tongva tribe did as well from Los Angeles. I'm like, wait, I've heard this before. Oh
yeah,
yeah, we had the original Native Americans, the Tongva of like the LA area, were the richest of the Native American tribes, really on the West Coast in the country because they could produce year round. Ah,
yeah.
you
And
triggered a
so, yeah, that it
lesson.
was a big deal because if that changed, then essentially almost becomes like a national mandate because they would have, I mean, for practicality terms,
Yeah.
So that was a big thing that there's just a lot of these things, and that really took the wind out of my sails back then. I'm just like, what are we ever going to get anywhere with any of this?
Yeah. That
Um,
was scary. That was wind out of my sails was with the mandates with the what you were saying, the liability clause.
sure,
That because I had a daughter who was maimed and no one wanted to help me. And I'm like, I don't understand, but you gave it to her. Like, wouldn't you
right,
know what this is, what happened, and how to fix it? Mm,
correct.
It was crickets. And that's when I'm like, this is fucked. I gotta do my own thing.
And that's
But
the
I,
thing. We can
mhm.
listen to the moms.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The moms are on the
I mean,
forefront. That, yeah,
listen to the moms.
yeah. Yep, yep. That was the conversation with the gal today it was just we realized when you go we both rode solo with our kids when they were babies because we didn't have our tribe yet. And they seen the world through their eyes and what was being done to them and the human interference medically. We were like at the libraries, like code words and code sayings to see how they'd respond. And you'd be like, that's my person. Or you'd be like, oh yeah, I can't go any further with them. You'd have to like, it took a while. We even were talking about, being on City Hall steps back in, was it 2016, I think? SB27, Tony Bark was there. Tony, who is since passed. I can't think of all their names. Austin, Dell Bigtree, they were
Yeah,
all these talking points. And the moms I'm in my friend group today were like, I was there. I was there. I mean, it's like 10 years ago and we didn't know each other then. We felt the call then to just start rising up.
sure.
So the cool thing is we're not rising up with pitchforks anymore. We have found some solutions and we have been finding how we can educate our children to take back their health themselves too. So that's
100%.
the neat thing. We're just not we're of course we're really pissed off then, but now we're just like we got this. We got this and we can, we can navigate because when the going got tough, we just got tougher. But
Sure.
yeah, being in those situations and not knowing who your friends were at the time was scary. In a big city like Los Angeles, to feel alone when you're a young parent, that's awful. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. So just I think there's going to be waves of support and for people sharing their experience of going through these corrupt systems. So we have yet to see that yet though, but that's, around the corner, I think.
Yeah.
Did you
Yeah.
see what it Mhm.
Oh, we got more comments coming in, or?
Yeah, I was trying to see that. Sorry, Blazer, I couldn't. Section 2, proposition. Is this correct? Oh, proposition 37. The statement of purpose reads: the purpose of this measure is to create and enforce the fundamental right of the people of California to be fully informed.
Yeah.
Yes,
Hey,
sir.
thank you, Blazer.
Thanks, Blazer. And they word things weird. Remember when you're
Yeah,
voting, they will do like
it's
three
very
trick words, like
difficult.
an exam, and just to f you. You have to look and see who's supporting and opposing for me to get a better idea, and then I got to Google a little bit.
Well,
Oh
if I
boy.
might, and
Mhm.
maybe Blazer, man, maybe you could be like our Jamie on Joe Rogan. Be like, hey, Blazer, pull that up. Because
Yeah.
I'm gonna like probably botch a lot of the details, but Heidi, this is a good time to talk about the food safety bill that had to do with raw almonds, because I always use this as an example of how they play their little game. And so if I may take a couple minutes on this one, because and maybe
Yeah, yeah,
Blazer
yeah.
can find this one out. And I want to say this is probably 15 years ago, or maybe more. But there was a salmonella outbreak, and it was an almond crop that was located near, some factory farm that had some horrific runoff, and because almonds aren't going to get salmonella naturally, it's just not a thing. But when you're in this close proximity to this horrific, factory farm condition, this is the kind of stuff that happens. And so, and I can't remember the exact companies that were involved, but you had basically a big agri company, and their whole game is they'll go to the state legislature and they'll say, hey, we want to make food safer. So here's our proposition. So instead of cleaning up like the factory farms that are runoff and all these other environmental things, we will pasteurize the almonds, right? That was their solution to that. But this is how that ended up working, is if you wanted to then pasteurize your almond crops, you're going to have to buy equipment. And these machines are $500,000, $1 million. For a small farm, that's very expensive.
Yeah.
And so the small farmers are pushing back and saying, well, we've never had any problems with our almonds. Why are we having, right? And our customers want raw almonds, unpasteurized almonds. And so they play their little game. They go back and forth. And they end up putting forward this Food Safety Act or whatever it might be. And what you end up in a situation is where almonds, which were like, $3.99 a pound at the time. Okay, if you wanted to get truly raw almonds, because they said, okay, well, we'll allow you to sell your raw almonds, but it has to be only in a certain amount, and all these kind of bottlenecks. But if you wanted to buy truly raw almonds, the price went up to like $18 a pound.
It was insane. I remember.
And if you went into a place like Trader Joe's, you could find an almond butter and it would say raw almond butter, and it was like $4.99, $5.99. It wasn't truly raw. It was still pasteurized. Because what the big agriculture companies also did was they fought for the language of what raw meant. And they said, well, we didn't cook it, but it was heated. It was pasteurized to the point where the live enzymes were destroyed. And so then companies had to go, okay, well, we're selling truly raw almond butter. So if you went into a little hippie health store, it's $20 for a bottle of raw almond butter. And people are like, I could just get this at Trader. It's not the same.
It's not the same thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So all that to say is this is what ends up happening. And they're trying to say that it's not safety for you guys. It's safety for them. For them, they can spend $1 million to zap the almonds and never have to worry about getting sued about salmonella, and then to sell you an inferior product, and they don't give a shit. And meanwhile, the small farmer is choked to death. Cuts right into their profits, and then they have to. So that was a perfect example. I remember at the time when all that was going on, I was like, "You're kidding me."
You could see it. Yeah.
This is just how it is, and they'll call something, and it will do the exact. It has nothing to do with you.
Was that also with like dairy when they were coming hard for adding the hormones? Isn't it the same kind of?
I mean, dairy
situation?
has its own story. Obviously, the raw milk story. There's pasteurization as well. I mean, the story behind dairy, if you go back long enough,
raw milk's expensive here.
Well, here's the thing:
we got a good bakery, but it's cheap.
When I first moved to California back in 2000, you could go to Whole Foods and you could buy raw milk. And in Illinois, where Heidi and I were from, you couldn't get it in stores. You had to be part of like a cow share program, and you had to go through all these hoops to source some raw milk. That's a whole other thing. I went on the CDC dashboard and checked 30 years of food outbreak, 1991 to 2021, and there were 13 deaths from lettuce, and there was 1 raw milk death. So lettuce officially 13 times more deadly.
It's more deadly than raw.
Per the CDC.
Milk, oh my gosh. Raw milk saved my daughter's teeth when I had, go ahead.
So
sorry.
To go back to the dairy thing with that is just real quick. What the case was back then is if it was non-homogenized, you could see the cream line. And so what dairy companies figured out is, well, we could sell the cream at a premium, and then we could do this thing called 2% or 1% milk or skim, and they could sell you that and then set a premium price. And when you got your milk, if it was homogenized, you weren't able to see where the cream line was, and nobody's the wiser, and they could kind of get away with a bigger margin and taking that pricier cream item and then be able to sell that at a premium. So that was how that went. with
Wow.
dairy.
The dairy thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and so yeah, I
I
mean, there's a
remember that.
lot of nuance to the category of dairy is incredibly nuanced.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it's this is the
Oh,
games that they play. So
yeah. Why the waste? Are they still doing that? I've seen those horrific stories that trend and spread about someone coming and dumping all the raw
yeah,
milk and
I mean, it
everything. Is
just
that
happened
because they
with
don't follow
butter.
the rules? Oh, yeah, the
Well,
butter
the
one.
raw milk raid that was in
Mhm.
Venice, the classic. I mean, it's you could watch this stuff on YouTube. Was a guy who ran a co-op.
In
People
Venice,
buy in
right? You
food,
said, right?
food
Yeah.
co-op,
Yeah.
and I can't remember what it was called, but you could buy raw milk there and other items. Private kind of food co-op. You pay a membership fee. You go buy your, and they got
Mhm.
raided, and the owner was a bit of anti-establishment kind of guy, and he sort of was he put himself in the crosshairs, and they called his bluff and kicked into doors with guns. It was hilarious, and raiding his co-op, and they dumped. Yeah, they disposed of all this raw milk. We just had a case with Costco, 80,000 pounds of butter or something like this, and because it wasn't because the package wasn't labeled contains milk, they got rid of like
Shut
80,000.
up.
It's like 80,000 pounds of butter. It was like,
Are you kidding me?
it's
I didn't see
butter. Of
that.
course it contains milk. Like,
But what
this
I
is,
don't what boggles me, especially with the raid on that place, which I think it was in Venice,
yeah.
was looted with homeless people, like, give it
Yeah, what was that
to
place
them.
called? Like
Why
raw,
didn't you put it down the
so
drain?
raw milk. I'm looking it up on here. Raw
Good
milk
golly.
raid in Venice. And the Amish came out in this election cycle
Uh-huh.
to because they were
I
coming
know.
after in Pennsylvania. They were coming after their farms. Venice Beach co-op.
Bless
Here
the
it is. Raw
Amish.
food co-op.
Mhm.
Rawsome. That's what it was, and it was
Awesome.
in
I remember that.
2011, 2010. Yeah, 2010. Police raid raw milk hippie club for your health. Um, Pretty interesting stuff. Yeah, can I do a screen
Oh,
screen
yeah, yeah,
share?
yeah. I love it. And hi, Carol.
My
Nice to see you. Hi,
hold on.
Carol. Oh, it
Present.
it dropped. Um,
Hold
yeah,
on.
Daryl's like,
I'm
"What?"
about to. I'm trying to share. Hold on.
Yeah,
Hold on.
I get it, Daryl. When I
You
was a kid,
you guys remember this? Here it
oh,
is.
it's coming. Come on.
Yeah, right.
Scared of some
Buddy,
hippies?
Ted. Yeah, they came. They're coming for you. See.
Good God.
Um,
I've been to that place. I remember that
and
place.
important thing to sort of note with this for anybody that's thinking we're crazy out there. Stop screen. Is there's these dairies that produce there's sort of different types of raw milk. There's how
Mhm.
to tell if it's good for you, government. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
There's raw milk that's created for consumption, and then there's raw milk that's not, that's intended to go to pasteurization. And raw milk that's created for consumption, they have pretty strict standards. And obviously, if you're in a business, you have the incentive to make sure that milk isn't going to get anybody sick. And so there's a tremendous degree of just kind of just self-preservation as a business.
Yeah, yeah. They have to
Um,
follow so many rules and,
there's just
they're
in
already doing their work.
their by their own
Mhm.
restraints. I mean, imagine. I mean, you've invested, you bought cows, you got land. I mean, like there's
You're
nothing in
in
it.
it.
I mean,
Yeah.
we can. I mean, it's crazy. Like Heidi, if you invited me over to dinner tonight, I'd come over, and I'm not
You'd be in
looking for
traffic.
your health score on your window. I'm not seeing if did Heidi get an A, B, or C, or did you clean. I'm not. So there's this kind of thing of like that the regulatory nature of life, there's a certain incentives built into doing good business. Not to say that people don't get taken advantage of, but if we look at eBay as a model of a closed system of business where it's an honors and trust built system, right? Like if you want to screw somebody over on eBay, you can, but you're going to get negative feedback. Your store's going to be
Mhm.
taken. Like there's consequences. But if you provide value, if you send your stuff on time, if it's never broken, you got good feedback, you be rewarded. And that you play a long game. It's going to be more profitable for you to be honest.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
for some reason, we have people that really, really think that we need a gigantic Karen, you know, looking over us, this kind of entity that, is just going to police every little thing that we do.
Yeah. Do you think a lot of this policing the foods and dumping is because there's a fear that people will get well? and their bodies won't need
I
all the
I
systems.
there's that kind of nefarious. I think it's just the immediate. There's more. I think it's more of a when we say greed, it's kind of like greed is sort of a constant. It's just how it's leveraged. You know, it's like
Yeah.
every plane crash is caused by gravity,
Mm,
but we don't blame gravity on the plane crash. But
mm,
every plane crash involves gravity. Like we have an incentive to make money. It's how we go about doing it. By what means? Are we being
mhm.
manipulative? Are we being ethical? Are we providing value? Or are we
Yeah.
stealing it?
Yeah.
If it comes to the government,
Still
they are
comes down to
not
morals.
there's no incentive for them like to spend your money. It's not theirs. They have no skin in the game. The government doesn't own anything. They can only take something and so they don't
Mhm,
care.
mhm,
So we've
mhm.
got just a massive bureaucracy. And so I think it's like companies are gonna leverage whatever power they're given. Give an example is if you're playing a hockey game and you've been used to the goal being a certain size, and then one year the regulators say the goal is twice as big now. You got more room to shoot at it. Now you could be like, no, I'm going to be a purist and I'm only going to shoot at where the old goal was. No, you're going to try to score a goal. You're going to, in other words, take advantage of whatever leverage they're going to give you. So corporations are just acting in the way that you would naturally act if you're able to do that. If you have an incentive, if you're given an opening, you're going to go for that. So we have to choke that off because you can get monopoly power. To get monopoly power in a natural market is very tricky. But to do it with the stroke of a pen, to get a law in place that helps you, pretty easy, especially if it's federal. Then you don't have to go to 50 states getting signatures and trying to talk to every government body in 50. You just go to the federal government, right?
Mhm,
And it was
mhm.
never meant to be set up that way. Or maybe, well, you could argue maybe at some point it was,
Yeah,
but I mean,
yeah.
if you just look at the sort of beginning of the country, why it became so wealthy is we just had a very, very tiny federal government.
Mhm,
Wealth exploded. And now
mhm.
we've got this just gigantic bloated, bureaucracy.
Which is shifting. But I tell you, I see you, Jane. Yes, you all are more than welcome to come to my house for dinner. And if you
Yeah,
do
speaking of
come,
that,
do you know what I told them? Because we were did I Jane heard my talk text right after I sent you, Lawrence, and I'm like, I'll be there. I'm running late. Cutting across town. But I told the kids, we call it Marty meat. We have our Dr. Marty, but he got me onto wild pastures. So
okay,
we invest in, which is not a lot of money. This is the thing. It's like if you shop around locally, I still wouldn't get this great price. I pay for a shipment of meat every 4 or 5 weeks, maybe from a
yeah,
farmer in Colorado, a little independent. They're their own thing, but they give full transparency. This is how we treat our animals. This is what we give them. This is the space they live in. This is, you can
100%.
adjust your box based on what's happening on the farm. It's not going to be consistent because they're not factory farm. I love it. It brought us all into that realm. So y'all can come over for some Marty meat.
I
And
got
I'll get
something in the queue for you.
okay. Is
So to
it
pull
Marty
this
meat?
up real quick. So here it is. I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of small,
Yeah.
but you can see here. So what I ran was 1991 to 2021 raw milk, quick stats overall. So you see different outbreaks and lists. There's a death. There's one death. 30 years, and we go 1991 below lettuce. It's 13.
That's so crazy.
And I have the dashboard that I used. You go in here and
And
it's
now,
the,
it,
official
what,
CDC. This is,
well, off the top of your head, what kind of stats would you say for like heart health or like obesity? What's that death toll, do you think?
oh,
I
I
mean,
mean, off the
lipid's
chart. I mean,
several
just be
years, 13 people. How about obesity?
right. I mean, obesity is
Off the chart.
rampant. I mean,
Yeah.
42% in an adult population, 42% obese, and then somewhere near 70% overweight or obese. Meaning,
Okay.
now that's by BMI, so that can get,
Hmm.
but on a population level, that's a pretty good sign. If you look at some other countries, especially like Asian countries, Japan and these places, Korea, they're 5%, it's 3%
Hmm.
obesity rates. But yeah, I
Hmm.
mean, if you could just solve the food issue, you sort of naturally downstream of that begin to take care of the obesity issue. Because people don't, again, people aren't, they didn't suddenly want to be obese. I mean,
Yeah.
we got there
Correct.
because the food supply, we consume like 70% of our calories through ultra processed foods, and that food is designed to make you eat more. So just like drive your appetite and you overconsume. And you're going to eat. I always say hunger always wins, right? You eat when you're hungry, you eat till you're full. And we got a lot of food that just takes you, the studies always show it's like, anywhere from 300 to 500 extra calories per day if you're on a kind of, ultra processed pattern kind of a diet versus like a whole food,
The whole thing. Yeah.
unprocessed way
It
of
was
eating.
designed that way. So
Well, of
those who
course,
feel
because it
lost
wants
in
you to
it,
buy
yeah.
more of the food. I mean, you eat through it
Mhm.
faster. You're hungry for it. You're craving it. You're, salt, sugar, fat. It's a
Mhm.
great book, by the way. Salt,
Salt,
sugar,
sugar,
fat.
fat.
Yeah.
Good to know. Okay.
And, that's the trifecta. That really doesn't occur in nature, that salt, sugar, fat combination. And even if you really look at, sugar and fat doesn't really show up in nature. Breast milk has it because it's for growth, right? So you take a small baby and turn it into a bigger body, right? It's a lot of growth factors to that.
Mhm.
So yeah, so all this
Yeah.
to say is that there's a few things that if you can kind of cut off the head of the dragon, the big pharma ads and the liability, downstream of that, all the other things open up. You don't need to do a million
Feel it.
things. You just need to do a few key
Be
things
big things. Yeah.
and choke off their blood supply and
Yeah.
watch them atrophy.
So it's like a little bit of a wait and see, a lot of bit of hope, but during all that waiting time of seeing how this next little wave of revolution will happen, choosing better,
Choose better, because if your kid
discipline.
is 8, 9, 10 years old, especially for kids, to put it to kids, it's like, I said this before, Heidi, don't wait. They'll be, 12, 13, 15 before, it's just like, don't wait for some, obviously schools and school lunches are needing to be addressed. And that's something that, I'm kind of involved in with that. It's like, there's a lot of things that we want to have happen still. Don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, you have to be in charge.
Yeah,
And it
you're
feels
the
better.
one
It feels
buying.
better, honestly. It
Yeah,
just feels, to me,
yeah.
you're in control of your destiny.
And it with your dollars that you have left after
100%.
taxes.
Right, exactly.
But you're the one buying the food coming into your home, so yeah. But I also think it's we did a whole talk too on that, the communicating, conversing with your child openly about this kind of stuff. Maybe
Mhm.
not in the fear porn way, but really an empowerment of conversation. Why choose that way? You know, the yes and
How do you
yes, we were
feel?
going to have a nice dessert and we're going to have, like I don't know, there's power in conversation too.
Here's where we
Um,
plug our playlist, because we have
yeah.
full episodes on all of these things.
I put it on all the socials last time. I'll add these to it, but I think we're kicking off a new season here.
Yeah, I think we're just kind of getting the juices going again, and
Uh-huh.
but yeah, we got a good little library, guys, of episodes where we key in on
I recall.
one or two topics
Yeah, the
each
major
one.
topics, and I
Hmm.
recalled one today while I was getting my hair cut. It was the mouth breathing one because her 3 children, she started talking to me about something, and I'm like, a lot of ties to mouth breathing. She goes, "I
Hmm.
didn't yeah, we're all mouth breathers." I'm like, "I'll send you a link
That's a
to an
huge one. Oh my
episode."
God. It's like, these
It's
are
a big
things that
one.
are so like, like when people see that, they almost like, I can't, because think about, you breathe all the time,
Mhm.
but how do you breathe? To actually like question, like, maybe I'm breathing
Mhm.
too much through my mouth.
Mhm. Have
You
you
know?
heard of that breathing, is it Breathing Institute? It's something, but it's a bunch of dentists at a breathing, something like breath something. I think it's down West Side. She's basically saying, I want to look to go get appointments there for dental. She's willing to travel because she said it's a more holistic approach, but they look at the body,
Hmm.
and
Oh, the
that's
mouth is the
Mhm.
door to the opening to your body, and probably one of the number one causes of dental problems is dry mouth. If you're breathing through the night with your mouth and not having that saliva. um there's just a lot to it. And then, yeah, and in the developing years, the facial structure and this,
Mhm.
a lot of things can be just resolved through looking at the breathing, paying attention to that, and then
Mhm.
just checking for any kind of polyps,
Mhm.
deviated septum, anything like this that goes undiagnosed. And for adults, if they have sleep apnea, they're feeling terrible, they're low blood oxygen levels through the night, and they
Mhm.
can remedy that. There's a method called Buteyko breathing. Plug
Mm,
that.
mm.
Buteyko, Buteyko breathing method.
Buteyko.
Good
Mhm.
for asthma, asthmatics, allergy sufferers, sleep apnea. A guy named Buteyko, doctor like in the 50s and 60s, came
And
up with,
putting it in.
and kind of just through observation of people who were dying. They were
Wow.
hyperventilating as they got near death, gasping. And then it kind of got
Wow.
him curious about breathing in general. And
Mhm.
there's very specific things you can do with Buteyko, but the kind of overarching thing is breathing through your nose as much as you can.
Hmm. I guess too with child development and just their
Hmm.
growth that I guess my friend was informed by this their holistic functional doctor that the child's growing up but not out, and they're relating it to like a tongue tie and
Interesting.
lip ties, and like all comes back to the mouth though. All the other checkups go back to what's going on in the mouth. I
Yeah.
told you, I think on an episode before, my dad's deathbed, it wasn't his frail skeletal body that bothered him or anything. It was his teeth hurt. And I think that's because
Wow.
the whole body, the whole nervous system, right? It's all connected to the.
It's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, we got
The
to take
way
care of our
everything
teeth.
just.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just when you think about it, it's an entryway. The immune system's very active.
Hmm.
If you're not if you don't have a good environment in the mouth, and there's a lot of immune activity that goes into the mouth, that kind of pulls away resources that could be used in other parts of your body. There's a lot to that.
Hmm.
Yeah, and then with root canals, there's a whole other thing, and
Hmm.
miles and miles and miles of you know you
Yeah.
get anaerobic bacteria in places, and it kind of goes
Yeah.
systemic on you. So,
Well, maybe we have to go back to some dental
but
talks soon.
check the playlist, and yeah, we have a uh, good playlist together on these kind of things, on dental health,
Hmm.
mouth breathing, etc.
Hmm. Thank you, Blazer, for all this. I am getting you a wrench, by the way. You're a great moderator. You're a great
Dude,
pal. So
Blazer,
thanks
that's
for
awesome.
chiming in. Yeah, you see the mouth breathing affecting overall health. And Miss Sandy Songjoy, of course, food type substances in
I love it.
general messed up. So culture maybe not such a big thing as it used to be. Yeah. Have you compared Ireland and Germany and Italy obesity compared to US? That came from Sandy.
I
Cool.
haven't looked at. I mean, I
I'd be
know.
curious.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I haven't I don't have the data off of those countries specifically. I think Italy's actually pretty good.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
which this also goes to the whole idea of imported versus domestic, and things like wheat, and where a lot of people, it's anecdotally, but it's pretty overwhelming, where people go to places like Italy. I went to Greece. They're
Mhm.
eating pasta, they're eating bread, it's fresh.
Mhm.
They don't have the ill effects that they seem to have here in the States. I've got a pizza place down the street here, that I had pizza, and I'm pretty sensitive to like gluten and stuff, and I didn't get the
Mhm.
gluten free.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I feel fine, and then I noticed it was imported from Italy.
Oh,
And
there you
I
go. There's the
digested it
Italy flour
perfect,
right
like
there.
perfect, and no trouble, like no
Wow.
trouble.
Wow.
And so, yeah, I think there's some differences in the wheat crops themselves, and then also what is being sprayed, and what the runoff, and the glyphosate, and et cetera, Roundup.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, all of those are issues.
All
Let's see
those
what
are big
Sandy
things.
says. Mouth breather for a while. These passages, stuff you like to. Jeez, since been doing breath techniques, meditate several years now. Breathe. Awesome.
Awesome. And
Yeah.
myofascial exercises, right? I mean,
Hmm.
and like
Yeah, and
meditation
there
is
are
perfect.
specialists with that, and that
Mhm.
actually has to do with assessing, the way that the jaw is forming, and
Mhm.
knowing these techniques.
Cauliflower.
Cauliflower
I do
flower is
like
great.
that. Hi,
Yeah.
Angel Wings. I see you here. So yeah, you mean you have actual
Oh wow.
celiac, and so you're saying
Wow.
cauliflower is better for you because it was right under blazer. I'm assuming you mean the cauliflower flower. You
For
must say.
celiac, I'd imagine for sure, because there's like no gluten at all, nothing.
That
Celiac's
was an
pretty.
easy one. I don't do it all the time. I could, should, would, but I love substituting cauliflower flour is really easy with kids. They as cannot
Super
notice.
simple. Yeah,
Yeah,
super
cannot
simple.
tell a
And I
difference.
always
And
tell
even if
people,
I did, I tell them this
if
is
you
better for you.
like
No inflammation.
So if people like don't want to do 100% on these things, a real cool hack for anyone out there, 50% cauliflower, 50% potato. You do a cauliflower potato mix mash. You don't notice it, but you add volume, cut the calories and carbs in half. You do that with cauliflower
Thanksgiving.
rice and regular rice. You know,
Nice.
my Asian girlfriend's not going to eat just cauliflower, rice. So do a mix, right? If you want to,
Nice.
there's just, it's like ways that you can kind of make sure that you're still eating a lot of food and cut into, cut down on the calories, carbohydrates, whatever. So
Mhm.
cauliflower is very useful for a lot of that.
Oh, that's perfect. That could be a Thanksgiving conversation because that's coming.
You know,
Thanksgiving's coming. Body blame number one. It's better to not eat gluten at all, actually. Our bodies can't process it anymore. Is it the gluten or the glyphosate?
well, so there's lots of that. Like, so
Hmm.
gluten, there's a protein, subprotein called gliadin, and that, so to the point of processing it. So for certain people, like if you went gluten free
Hmm.
and for an extended period of time, you're definitely insured of not being able to process it because any bacteria that you would have at your disposal to try to help out is just no longer there because the gut environment is like not conditioned for that. But let's say to go back to it with gluten, the subprotein gliadin is correct. It's that there's tight junctions in the gut that get compromised and that get impacted by that. And so yeah, over time, I mean, I do think there's context to it, but it's certainly like for people that just poo-poo the idea that they say there's no such thing as gluten sensitivity, and if you're not celiac, you're fine. That's not true. That's just like not true at all.
Hmm.
But there's varying degrees of it, and if you are consuming gluten regularly enough, your body can produce certain bacteria that will help you assist to do that. But to the point of like how over time, how that's going to impact, the intestinal lining and creating leaky gut, that's a whole other
Hmm.
conversation.
It's a whole
So, I
conversation. I
mean,
would, I would love to have a whole conversation with you on inflammation. Just like
well, yeah, I mean,
inflammation, where it's coming from, how to get rid of it, what to chew,
no, there's
like the
many
whole.
categories of it. Yeah, and there's
Yeah.
many
Oh.
ways to measure it, inflammation, because it's not just kind of one thing. And you've
Oh.
got like really good inflammation, which is more acute inflammation that you need.
Hmm.
You wouldn't live without it. And then chronic inflammation is what we want to avoid. And that's what's underlying all of our health problems. And to that degree, there's lots of ways of, testing. Like I said, one of the check engine lights for inflammation, if anybody's out there getting blood work, it's called the CRP or C-reactive protein. You can request an HSCRP, high sensitivity C-reactive protein, and it'll give you a number. And these numbers, the ranges, real quick, it's like, anything under 8 they consider like in a normal reference range, but that's ridiculous. It's like you really want your CRP to be under 1.
Mm.
And some doctors even think 0.65 and below. So that's quite a difference. So if you go to a doctor and it says your CRP is 5 and you're fine, that's too high. That puts you in
Hmm.
a higher risk category. But there's like ESR, which is called the SED rates. There's just kind of different. There's like a lot of different ways to kind of look at inflammation and what it is. But
Okay.
body fat can be inflammatory in nature,
Yeah.
visceral fat especially, around the organs.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, we need some inflammation, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
Hmm.
like if you hurt yourself or when you're exercising, the body is
Oh, to protect.
repairing, so it needs
Okay.
to create inflammation. There's inflammation created, and then the
Hmm.
muscles get stronger as a result of that. So
Ah, I see. I
inflammation,
missed your talks.
inflammation is friend and foe. We just want to avoid chronic
Okay.
inflammation. You can't
Okay.
quell inflammation entirely. There's just key times that you want it on and times that you want it off.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
so actually a big one to the point, this is actually pretty topical and trendy, is ice baths, and have been popular for a few years now.
Oh yeah.
People that are doing ice baths immediately after exercise, especially if you're trying to get stronger, you may be shooting yourself in the foot. The studies show that doesn't really help because it's that post-exercise time that you want to have that inflammatory response. If you move your ice bath, separate it out, do it even before or later or on an in-between day, but right immediately post-exercise, you're going to inhibit a needed inflammatory response. So there's that, right?
Hmm. That's good to share out. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
It is
actually,
trending. Hmm.
actually, and with injuries, this has become a thing that controversial, but it really shouldn't be because we all hear about this RICE, which is rest, ice, compression, elevation.
Mhm.
And that's always like the gold standard for, an injury. But the guy himself that created that term has gone on record, even wrote like a foreword in a book about this, saying that's just incorrect. He was wrong.
Mhm.
And that what we really actually need, I mean, the idea of swelling, like, oh, get the swelling down. I mean, if you're in super bad pain, putting ice is needed, but there's absolutely no reason to get the swelling down. Swelling is needed.
Hmm. Oh my gosh.
And,
Yeah.
and this
I
is
never
something
knew.
that blew my mind because I didn't believe it at first, and then I did my own deep dive on it, and I was like, okay, yeah. And more of the progressive, up to date trainers understand that. So, like on an injury, it's better to actually try to get some movement, mobility, let the swelling happen. And again, yeah, if you have really, really bad pain and you need to like numb out a little bit, ice is fine. But really, it's not an ideal way to recover. And that comes from the guy that literally invented the term rice.
Nice. You just dropped some too
That's like
juicy nuggets
that was a huge thing for me that I was like,
that to
wow, yeah.
to realize there. Yeah, Blazer's got a good concoction here to start the day with here.
Start your day with
What
warm
do you
water, lemon
start your day
turmeric, and
with?
lemon with
Yeah.
ginger and honey. I love this.
What do
Yeah,
you
no,
start your day with, Lawrence? Are you like a tea guy, coffee
I
guy,
like
or nothing
coffee.
guy?
I like organic
Uh-huh.
coffee, and
Mhm.
I guess man, I'm gonna reveal something strange. I put I put pasture raised eggs into coffee.
What? Really?
Yeah,
Well,
I
I
take a
knew
scoop.
you'd do something cool like that.
It
My
works
God,
really
I've
good for
never
me.
heard of that.
So it actually started because I was kind of in a rush and I like to get protein in the morning or whatever. So I'll do some water. I'll do 16 ounce of water. If I got some lemon, cool. But it was like, with the coffee and I was like, I need some protein. I'm like, screw it. I just cracked the eggs and threw them in there because I'm like, it's hot coffee. I just mixed it up. And that was it. And then I liked it. So then I throw in like a
Look
scoop of
at you.
collagen and a thing whey protein, and that's what I do. That's in the
Nice.
morning. It
Okay,
works for
that's
me.
your morning.
And I
That's
sip on that
great.
and whatever. I'm good. So I'm
That's
working.
great. That's
Um,
awesome.
but yeah,
That's
I
so
used to do
cool.
water with lemon every morning. That was a big thing for me. Dandelion tea for a while. Sometimes I go in
Yeah.
cycles. I get in a
I know, I'm
mood.
in cycles. Have you heard of moringa? Moringa tea?
Yeah, moringa leaf.
Yeah, that's what I'm on
Moringa's
now with my
interesting. It's got
college.
like a
Mhm.
small amount of everything. It's got a lot of like just kind of a little bit of everything, vitamins, minerals, and it's
Yeah.
yeah, moringa. You can
That's my
grow. You can have
new
a tree here in California and get
Oh, you
moringa.
can. That might
Yeah,
be my next thing. That's my new nighttime now. I do that with 2 scoops of the collagen and I watch my little bad show.
yeah.
That's my wind
I
down.
throw my glycine if I'm out of collagen because collagen's got a good amount of glycine. I'm a huge
Okay.
glycine fanatic.
Mhm.
Put that in. That's one
Yeah.
of my major go-tos.
I'm
Glycine.
new to it. I mean, I got the 50 coming up and I'm like, why have I not been starting my collagen? I did patches for a little while, but adding that little supplement, it was actually a mom friend gave me a gift certificate. I'm like, I'm going to buy my big jug of collagen.
Well, yeah,
So
one of the benefits of collagen is in the glycine because you get about for
nice.
about 10,
Okay.
10 grams of collagen protein, you get about 2.5 grams of glycine.
Okay. So and
And
glycine is
glycine
the
is
thing.
something that I during COVID when I started doing a deep dive on that, it was like wow. I mean, it was really
You
profound,
know
and you could,
what?
yeah,
We had an episode because I remember you were educating me on glycine. So I'm gonna have to find all these and just start tagging them under all our shows.
yeah.
we
Like you
are
guys can
we are
look
in
up
rumbling.
Glynac, which is using glycine and NAC together, and one of the primary reasons that people were perishing from the thing
Mhm.
was low endogenous, meaning from within glutathione, right? Well, one thing that drives up glutathione is glycine, and the other is NAC. And of course, during that time, Amazon wasn't selling it. The FDA was talking about having it classified as a drug, even though it's been on the shelf for 50, 60 years. So it was an interesting thing. Very cheap.
Mm.
Both of these
Mhm.
things are very cheap.
Huh, nice. All these little things we can have in our
Yeah,
arsenal.
yeah.
Everybody's sharing their things. They have butter and coffee's good too.
I like
What was
when
that
people
called?
weigh in.
Bullet coffee, right?
Yeah,
Bullet
bulletproof
coffee.
coffee. I
Yeah.
was doing that for a while.
Uh-huh.
Kind of keeps you like it keeps your appetite at bay. Like you can. When I was doing
Butters.
that, I wouldn't get hungry until like late afternoon. It's kind of weird. It's like,
We have an educator that'll eat a stick. Or he gnaws on
you know,
a raw butter
it's
stick,
got the K2. We were talking about dental health.
That's a
great,
good
great
thing, right?
benefits in
Yeah,
there. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, you guys are so cute. Thank you. I can't believe, yeah, we passed our hour. We're at 1:11 now.
We're kicking ass on a Sunday night. Well,
I
you were.
know.
That's right, and it's later than normal too because we started late. So
I know. I was starting late. I was on the 5 the whole way, but I was still calm. But I do have this moment, Lawrence, and I'm just have to tell you publicly. Lawrence had to live with me for a while. And I was the epitome of I was a very young person. But not only was I thankfully living off the GNC leftovers you gave me and things, but I was flaky, I was a lot of like mixed priorities and all these things, and I just want you to know how serious I am about these things. And I would never have made a trek like that had Charlie not agreed, my daughter agreed to go do this with me, and I wouldn't have timed it like that. But I also pushed a half hour for the mom. She was running late, so we started a little later. There's no excuses.
it was awesome. No, it's fine.
But I was just got in the car. I was like, I gave myself an hour window, and I'm like, yeah, that's gonna be too tight. So anyway,
Really.
15 minutes is all right. But the thing is I don't know why I was saying all that, other than I knew, well, he's not gonna beat you up, Hyde, and he gets it. But I it's not my norm. Anyone in the chat can
We
tell
have a
you, that's not
history,
my
Heidi.
norm. We have a history.
We have a history.
Boots.
And to think, yes, and to think, and to think that where we're at now, and it'll be like next year's going to be 25.
I know. We got to do
So
something
we'll
big
have
for
to do
that.
something very special about that. 25 years.
Just in LA, but I've known you, what, 28 or 9, maybe 28.
Yeah, since the 90s.
28. Yeah. We'll definitely do something special for that. And Blazer, the show went amazing. I know you're not. I don't think you're on Facebook. I can share a link with you. Charlie did an open mic, Lawrence, on Monday at this bakery. It's the amazing bakery, Sovereign Bakery, Backdoor Bakery. It's called in Sunland. And the whole 8th grade, they did a program called Revolt Rebellion Revolutionize. And it went grunge. They went 90s grunge. And she did on the cello, the Cranberries, Zombie. And then her
cool.
her educator sang Rage Against the Machine and then did a Mary Angelou poem. And I mean, it was an incredible night,
That's awesome.
Standing ovations. But these children, it was just amazing. But this bakery, they didn't have one gluten-free thing. And my friend, that was so surprising for being this like, bringing in all these parents that don't, want sovereignty. And what's interesting,
crunchy moms.
Yeah, but one of my moms next to me, she is a true celiac as well. And she ordered herself eggs and potatoes and like just tried to keep it clean. She was having a reaction in the middle of the show.
Man. No, the cross-contamination in a place like that
cross-contamination,
very real thing.
Yeah.
It can be very scary.
Yeah. I asked her, I go, we gotta, I hope they do have some sort of option like that for her. So anyway. Yeah. So there you go. That was my update. Oh, Lawrence, I'm so grateful to you. Yeah.
Likewise.
Next week, my mom's here. We're at a Mexican buffet for brunch Sunday morning. So I might be coming in hot. Won't be late, but I'll be coming in hot. A lot of like.
I like it. I will plan accordingly.
We can talk about digestion.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Gas. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. But we'll see. So to wrap it all up, I mean, to go full circle on it, it's like, we're in a wait and see mode. It's one of those things where time will tell the story, and we'll see, who's for real and who's faking.
Yes. Who's for real?
Oh yeah, my hemp. Fake? I saw. I'm like seeing.
Oh yeah, you saw that?
Oh, let's see. Hemp.
Yeah, I wanted to scroll everybody real quick.
Protein,
here.
love it. Real quick, hemp, amazing. Great source of magnesium. Probably one of the best food sources because it's hard to get magnesium in the food supply nowadays. So hemp is great. Moringa, got pumpkin cream on my coffee. Contains collagen, different mushrooms. I love it.
And Sandy, I agree. Same with dandelion.
Dandelion tea,
tastes like coffee. It's earthy. And I saw you before when you said that. I've been off caffeine. It's more like a buzz.
There was one called Dandy Blend. So it was a blend. There's dandelion tea, which is great. Dandelion root, great for the liver. And then Dandy Blend was one that used like chicory and different things and kind of a coffee substitute. High unicorn energy. That's right. Be the glitch. We're getting gems right now.
I know. They're so sweet.
Exactly. Yes. Be the glitch. Glitch it up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great show. Thank you.
Yeah. So we're like, it's a wait and see moment, right? But I still, we have to understand the collective energy
It's all about that. Look, it's all about continue to just get, because the message is the ideas are bigger than us, It's like
Mhm.
not I don't really think of in terms of people, but hey, boil your
Yeah.
pineapple rinds and drink the water after. That's awesome. Bromelain, great for digestion. Great enzyme found
Whoop.
in
Only
pineapple.
drink.
Yeah,
Okay.
but
Oh, cool. Yeah, but when I
yeah,
say wait and see, I don't mean like sit around and wait for someone else to take control of your health.
yeah.
You take
But
control of it. Yeah.
but we will see. And the idea is, it's like, which ideas are going to win out, and we're just contributing to it, and we're voting every day with our dollars, and our actions that we take. This comes from Atomic Habits, a great book. Is like, every action you take is a vote for the type of person you want to become.
Wow.
And so continue to vote for you. That's the best election. Is like my actions, my words, my spirit is I'm placing a vote for who I want to be, who I think, who is that guy that can benefit this planet. Let's do it.
Hmm. That was
So
beautiful. Well, I think that's a beautiful way to round it
that's it.
out.
Wrap it up.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, sweet chat. Thank you, Carol and Jane. I'm going to watch your replay too. Um, I love it. Yes. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Angel
Thank you.
Wings, Chiro, Blazer, all of y'all. Thank you so very much. And for those catching the replay and who are unaware of the series we did before, I will tag it. Kids Health Series. You can see it on Rumble, YouTube, X. I think
All the
I uploaded on to
episodes.
BitChute too, and
Nice.
Twitch. How are my Twitch
BitChute's
kids?
hardcore, man. I feel like BitChute. You always feel like
Hard.
I'm like
It's
BitChute's like the it's like dark alley of video. Like I like BitChute, man. It's where you find all the really wild stuff is in
It's so
BitChute. Like
funny.
every other platform said no, you can't put it here. It's like you can't even get this on Rumble, man. BitChute, like just
That's
go to
right.
BitChute.
Yeah.
They will love it. The more, the merrier.
The more the merrier. Okay. Oh, Peaceful Penguin, you were still here. Thank you for that. Thank you to you both. Okay, wonderful. Well, I guess, folks, we'll see you again. We're going to see you.
Thank
Love
you.
and peace to you,
Thanks,
Carol.
Peaceful
We'll
Penguin. All
see
right.
you all
Love and
next
peace.
week. Thank you. Thank you, Lawrence.
You got it.